I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and the overall positive message. I'm your host, DJ. In today's episode, I just want to talk about how important it is to understand that good things that are built to last take time. Because I was having a conversation with a few of my friends, and it's just like a chill conversation, where you just everybody's already caught up with each other and stuff, and you're just talking about random stuff. And one of my friends said something along the lines of, how hard it is to build a life for yourself, like a good life, and just going into every different aspects of the life, like finances, romance, this, that, makes your family good, friends good, and all that stuff. And we're just talking. And I was just like, man, it is hard, but I think the hardest thing for a lot of us is being patient enough to build it. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that it's on steady foundation. We're building everything on steady ground, and that takes time. I think that that's one of the hardest things, is having the patience to build those things, because when you think about it, everything we want now. We want it instantly. We want to see instant results. You know, for example, like me losing weight. I've talked about it a lot. I had to realize that this is going to take time. This isn't something that is just going to change in a month. I'm not going to be doing all of this work, and then a month later, I'm going to see all the results that I want to see. I'm not going to be I won't have lost all of that weight in a month. It's going to take time. And so, I think that, so that's what I was just talking about. Like, I think that being patient is one of the hardest things when it comes to having something good or building something good, is being patient enough to keep pushing, even though you don't see the results, or you're not seeing the results as fast, or the results aren't as big as you expected them to be. I think that staying in the right mindset, continuing to grind through all of that, I think that that's the biggest part. That's one of the toughest parts of, trying to build something good, as far as what we were talking about, as far as building that life for yourself and the people around you. I think that staying patient enough while you go through those grinds, while you go through those trials and errors, while you figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, while you're figuring out your system and your routine and all of that stuff, that's the hardest part, or at least one of the hardest parts, because because again, we just talking about the different parts. And so, we were talking about like romance and all of that stuff. And again, I am no relationship expert. These are just my personal opinions. I want to put that out there. So this is not me giving people advice. This is just me telling things from my viewpoint. That's it. So we were, because we were breaking down like every single aspect or whatever. So when we got on the relationships, and they were like, we were all just talking about how hard relationships are. And and for me, especially now that I'm going to therapy and I'm viewing things from different aspects now, I don't view that as a bad thing the way I used to. It just depends on what type of hard, because again, my viewpoint has changed. My viewpoint about relationships is this now. This is how I personally view it. You're taking someone, so myself, the way I like to do things, the way I see the world, the way I feel, the way I move, my routine, all of that. And I'm bringing somebody in who has their own set of routines, the way that they view the world, all of that. And we're trying to blend this thing together. And so, again, we're not identical clones. We don't, at least the way we think is, and I may not be 100% identical. There may be a lot of overlap where we agree. So that'll make that transition, that blend, a lot easier. But those parts that we don't agree on, and those parts where we may be on the extreme opposite ends of each other, that's where it gets difficult. That's where it gets hard, is learning how to fit together, how to fit that puzzle together and lining it up just right, and and making sure that we can stay aligned and learning how to handle things when we're not aligned, how learning how to handle conflicts, arguments, disagreements, all of those things, but those things take time. I don't think that those are bad things. Those are things that come with life. They come with friendships. They come with a job, because there's going to be people in this world that we don't agree with. There's going to be people on the job that we don't agree with. People in the gym, like everywhere you move, there's going to be people that you don't agree with. In the church, no matter where you go, there's going to be people that you're not going to agree with. So how do you handle those disagreements? And again, those are things that can be built. The way your tolerance for, you know, other people's opinions, even if they're ignorant opinions, just misinformed opinions, things like that. Oh, how the way you handle those things, the way you respond to those things, all of that takes time to build. You got to build all of that, and so that's why my perspective on everything has changed, because I don't think that it's bad, that it's hard work. Hard work means that I think that if something's hard, it's worth having. So if I feel like if a relationship is just, and again, not saying that it can't be, but if the relationship is just too easy to where there's no problems, there's no nothing ever, I don't know how I would feel about that. And maybe, again, this is just me, maybe that's the survival mode, constantly being in survival mode. Maybe that's that. But I'm saying like no arguments, no nothing. Everything is just, and maybe that's a beautiful thing, and again, I can own if somebody listens to that and they comment, nah, that's just you with the, yes, I can hear that, and I can probably agree. So, but yeah, I don't mind that, because to me that helps us build. That helps me figure you out. That helps you figure me out. Now I know how you like things. Now I know, okay, this is a subject that, man, maybe because we're so opinionated, this might be one of those subjects that we just don't touch unless we absolutely have to, because you feel how you feel, I feel how I feel. And again, I'm not just talking about relationships, friendships, partnerships, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But all of those things take time. It takes time to know somebody. It takes time to, get to where you want to be in life, whether it's at a job. All of these things take time. But if it's worth having, something good worth having, that's going to last through some tough times, you have to take the time to build it. You have to take the time to put that foundation together. So all these good things take time, and I think that that's one of the hardest things, is realizing that it's not going to happen overnight. And depending on what it is, it may not happen over a year or two. You know what I'm saying? It may take you 5, 6 years to figure some things out, but you have to be okay with that, because you got to remember that you got to, at times, you got to be able to take a step back and realize the bigger picture. The bigger goal is this. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to get to. This is what I'm trying to obtain. But I know that getting there takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort. So it takes sacrifice. Another thing that people aren't just lining up to do, just to sacrifice their time, or to sacrifice having fun or a vacation here and there to build the things that they want to build and that they're trying to build. So I think that the fact that it's the time and the sacrifice, those are two things that people just have a very hard time, willing to accept. And so we were just talking about that. And I think that one of the things where we kind of, I won't say bumped heads, but we just kind of got into, we just had a disagreement, healthy disagreement, was one of the guys that we were talking to. He was just, his mindset was like, you know, if I do good, good is going to come back to me. And mind you, I agree with that. I said, I agree. I do believe that when you put good out into the world, when you sow those good seeds, you'll reap those, they'll come back to you in one form or fashion. In some form or fashion, it'll come back to you. That good energy, that good karma, blessings, whatever, however you phrase it. I do believe that it'll come back to you, but I also believe that you still have to put in the work. I don't think it's just hey, let me go do a good deed, and then let me sit back and wait for that good deed to now come back to me. I think it's you just while you're in the middle of doing your work, doing the things that you need to do for your life. And if you can do a good deed here, you can bless someone here, you can, give to the less fortunate there. I think that as you're going on your walk and you're doing your things, there'll be things that come your way. But again, takes time. It may take you, you may give somebody something and that blessing may not come back around for another year or two. Who knows? But so that's what we disagree because he was just more along the lines of, no, I just do the good thing and then I sit back and wait for it to come to me. And I'm like, if that's what you choose to do, cool. But I would, I'm going to do the good thing and just keep moving because I don't want to stay focused on just this good thing. And now now I'm only focused on waiting for that to come back to me. You know what I'm saying? How many more blessings and how many more good things am I missing out on because I'm just sitting back waiting on the return from that good thing? No, I could be sowing other good seeds while and I'm not even waiting on that. When it come back because I don't know when it's gonna come. So what's the point of me waiting for something and I don't know when it'd be different if I knew, okay, I sow that good seed, I do that, and I know in 3 to 4 business days it'll come back to me. That'd be, you know what I'm saying, cool. But I don't know when that's gonna come back. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know the form that it's gonna come back in. I may just bless somebody with 20, $30 and be like, yeah, you good. Or I may give some money to somebody outside of a store, won't need them to buy something for something to eat, whatever the case may be. I don't know when that's gonna come back. I don't know how it's gonna come back and what form it's gonna come back. I don't know. So why would I sit around waiting on something and I don't know when it's gonna come, what it's gonna look like, what it's gonna be? For what? When I could still be doing my work. I could still be being productive and doing the things that I need to be doing. But like I said, because again, I'm not saying the things that I'm saying to prove a point or to be right. I'm just giving my perspective. So, we said what we said and then we moved on because the old me would have been like, no, I got to show you that I'm right. I have to get you to think how I think because my way is right. And, because I don't look at the world that way. It's just, I'm giving my opinion. Just like what I said about, relationships and stuff. This is not me giving advice. This is just me giving my opinion from my viewpoint. There are going to be people who agree. There are going to be people who disagree. There are going to be people who, you know what I'm saying, kind of in the in the middle, agree about some things, disagree about others. Cool. This wasn't about trying to prove him wrong. This was just about giving my giving my opinion or giving another viewpoint of what he said. So so then we just moved on to the next thing, which, we talked, like I said, we talked about work and, sometimes you're going to get passed over. Sometimes you've done everything right. You've come in, you've done your job to the best of your ability. You've even maybe started doing stuff that isn't your job, or at least isn't part of your job description, and you'll still get looked over for that promotion. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean that promotion isn't for you. Make just that particular one, because we also got to understand it's time, and maybe it was not your time. Maybe it was their time. Maybe because that's a bad job. Maybe that position is a bad position, and it's not for you because that position is going to take you off course of what you're trying to do. You just never know. But I also had to learn that not everything is going to be for you. Not everything is meant in that time that it's presented to you. So, for example, with me, the job opportunity that I lost at the shipyard, where I would have been making $10 more than what I'm currently making now, I missed out on it because of my blood pressure. And so now, because of that missed opportunity, 6 months later, I'm down almost 60 pounds now because I went to the doctor. I was like stroke level with my blood pressure. And, they were just telling me seriously, like, you got to lose weight. I got in the gym, got a trainer, And like I said, I'm down 60 pounds and now I'm in a better place. That would have been a great financial opportunity for me, that job. But I'm just as thankful, maybe even more so thankful, because now I'm getting my life together, my physical health together. I'm changing a lot of stuff in my life, the way I eat, what I drink, the way I see food, my relationship with food. A lot of that stuff is changing because of that one opportunity that I missed. And again, being completely transparent, I was in a depression that I didn't even realize I was in because I was just tuning people out. I was just closing myself off because all I thought about was the $10 an hour more that I just lost out on. And it took people who really knew me was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Because you're not acting how you normally act. You're not responding how you normally respond." And then going to therapy to make me realize that I was in a depression. I was starting to spiral because all I could focus on was that $10. But I had to refocus that energy, to somewhere else, which was the losing the weight, and doing what I need to do to get to a healthier place. But that wasn't for me. But because I missed out on that opportunity, it's giving me this now opportunity to get my life right and to get my health in order. So it's all about perspective and realizing that, there's opportunities even in missed opportunities. There's opportunities to get better. There's opportunities to figure out what it is that you need, because maybe that opportunity wasn't for you. Maybe that opportunity was presented to show you something where you're lacking. You know what I'm saying? So again, I go through stuff now and I always try to figure out the whys and what I can do better. So my perspective on a lot of things have changed in this past year. So when we talk about stuff, there was a time when I thought like a lot of other people, like, man, you just mad and you upset about that opportunity, not you not getting that, and they hate me, or they're this type of person, they're racist, they're sexist because they gave it to this person. And mind you, I may not know the other person's qualifications. Maybe the other person was way more qualified. Maybe, again, like I just said, maybe there's something that I need to learn from missing out on this opportunity. Maybe I needed to see, maybe God needed to see, how do he react when he doesn't get what he needs? Does he spiral, or does he get stronger? Does he see how he can improve? Does he go ask, hey, what can I do better? So that way, the next time of opportunity like this opens up, my case will be stronger. I can present a better case, things like that. And I always was the former. I was always just mad and I would spiral and I would just blame everybody else. It was always everyone else's fault. It was never mine. And so for me now, I do my best. And again, I'm not perfect because I did kind of spiral, but through the help of people around me, knowing me and realizing, okay, you ain't acting like your normal self. They helped me to catch it. And now I've been able to refocus my energy into the positive and to figuring out what I can do better. What I can do is to drop this weight, get my blood pressure right. So that way, if another opportunity comes around, at least that won't be the reason why I didn't get the job. At least it'll have to be another reason. It won't be that. It won't be because my blood pressure is at stroke level, because my blood pressure now is in, normal ranges. And it has been the last 3 times that I've been to the doctor. So I'm thankful for that. That was a blessing in disguise. So that's something that normal me, the old me, would have took as, I would have took nothing but the negative from it. I got a lot of good from it as well because I chose not to stay. First of all, I had people help me get out of my depression, and I just chose not to focus on. Then I chose not to focus on just the negative, then to realize what I can do to get better, to make sure that doesn't happen again. I don't have a repeat of that, and I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm better for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about timing. That wasn't my time because there's no telling what my life would be if in that moment I had my levels low enough to where they would have given me that job. I don't know. I cannot say. I know financially I would probably be in a way better place, but health wise, who knows? There's no guarantee. So as someone who's here right now in a healthier space, being able to talk to y'all, I'm thankful for it. I didn't now, if you would have told me 6, 7 months ago when all of this happened that down the road, 6, 7 months from now, you'll be saying you're thankful for that, I would have lost it. I would have gone crazy on you for even because I didn't understand it. The only thing I was seeing was the money. The only thing I was seeing was this money that I just lost, this money that I was already counting, which was another mistake of mine. I was already counting this money in my head, like what I'm gonna be doing and where I'm gonna distribute and where it's gonna go. So I was already counting it before it was even in my hand. So the more I look at it, the more I realize it was probably ain't even a problem. It was for the best that I missed out on that opportunity. And now I'm having to switch gears. I'm having to grow. I'm having to change. And now my life, for the most part, is now flipped upside down to where I'm trying to find healthy alternatives for everything. So it's changed my life for the better. But if you would have told me, I would be saying that. If you would have told me in the moment that it happened, that I'd be saying that, I would have gone. Uh, I would have lost it on you. I'm not gonna lie, because I was just in such a bad space when it happened originally. But through time and through, you know, continuing to do my work, I'm in a place now where I can say, yeah, that was the best thing for me. And I'm confident that another opportunity and maybe even a better opportunity will come along. But it's all about timing, and what am I doing in the time from one opportunity to the next, from one blessing to the next, from one situation to the next. How am I handling things? Am I getting better? Am I learning from it? Am I growing from it? Or am I just staying in the same place because all I want to do is blame everybody else? Because when I blame everybody else, that means that it's not me. So that means I don't have to do any work. I don't have to do any self-reflection. I don't have to do the work to become better because I'm pointing the finger at everybody else. And so that's why for me, no matter what I go through, I try my best to figure out what I could have done differently, what I can do better to make sure that that situation doesn't happen again, or that situation doesn't end in a negative way again or going forward. So I do my best to always look at what I did or how I could have handled something better, because I can grow from every opportunity if I look at it that way. That's another thing that I had to realize, is that everything that happens, good or bad, but especially in the bad, those are chances for me to grow. Those are chances for me to get better, to understand that maybe the way I'm reacting to someone isn't the best, or the way I react to a certain subject isn't the best, or certain subjects might be just a bad trigger for me. Let me figure out why that is, what's going on, what about this subject is triggering these quick and negative responses out of me, and all of that. So, everything I try to treat as a opportunity to grow, an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to learn something new about myself, which will help me handle things in a better way going forward. But again, all of that took time. It took time for me to get here. It's not like I just woke up one day and I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking. No, it took time. It took time with my therapist, being honest with me, being open with me about myself, and, letting me know, hey, that ain't the best way to think, whatever, just being honest with me, open and honest with me about the things that I need to be doing to get better and to grow in every single aspect of my life. Because, of course, you always think that you are where you need to be, you're on the level that you need to be on, but then there's times when you realize, like, nah, I'm not even scratching the surface of where I could be, because it's so hard to take accountability and own your part in something that happened, especially if it happened to you. It's hard to then say, hey, what could I have done better? Where did I fall short? Where did I mess up? Where did I go wrong in all of this. Again, especially when it's something that happened to you where you feel like you're the victim. It's hard to now feel like you got wronged and you got attacked, and to try to figure out where you can be better. But and mind you, we're talking about all this. So I'm bringing all of this up because I don't want anybody to ever feel like I'm trying to attack them because I'm coming from a place of superior, like from a superior place, because I'm going to therapy and or I'm doing this. I don't look at it like I'm superior to you. I don't look at it like I'm over you. I'm just always looking at it from the perspective of I see this as a potential. I see this as an opportunity to grow. I see everything as an opportunity to grow. I may not see it in the moment that it happens, but once I've had time to take a step back and reflect on things, it's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to get better in some form, in some way. But that all took time. And I think that, once we got to talking and everything like that, they started to realize like how important it is to just realize that your goals aren't going to happen overnight. Your goals are going to take time. And so just because something is hard or it's difficult or you feel like it's not going anywhere doesn't mean that you should give up on it. Take a step back, really assess it, really be honest with yourself about, are you putting in the effort, the energy to make this work? You know what I'm saying? Like really assess the situation, really assess how you're handling the situation, how your involvement in the situation, your level of culpability when it comes to where the situation may be or why it isn't where you want it to be, the role that you're playing in that, and really figure out if it's worth continuing, because I think that sometimes we just see that things aren't going the way we want it to, or it's not moving as fast as we hoped, or the results aren't as big as we wanted them to be. And so now we want to pull the plug. But sometimes it's, if we're being honest with ourselves, we also haven't put in the time that we need to put in to make it move the way we want it to, or to make it grow the way we want it to. Sometimes we're the ones who are responsible for the lack of movement or the lack of growth because we're not nourishing these situations, these um, relationships, the way we need to. We're not putting in the time, the energy, the effort to allow them to grow. We're not putting in the nourishment that it needs to help it grow. And sometimes we're not giving it the time that it needs to grow the way it's supposed to grow. Because some things may grow slow, and then at some point, boom, it just hits this growth spurt. And now the rate of the growth expands because we've given it time to build a solid foundation. And now that it has the foundation it needs, now it can grow even faster. But I don't think that we realize how important it is to be patient enough to take the time to allow things to grow the way they need to grow, or at least the foundation to grow the way it needs to grow. Then it can start, then it'll have that big um growth rate. That growth rate will go up when it has the right foundation, when it has all the things that it needs to grow, when it has all the nourishment that it needs to grow, and things like that. And I think that being patient enough, and also realizing our part that we play in how things grow, are are the two of the things that hinder us the most, because we don't, no, nobody likes to take accountability. You know what I'm saying? It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I do understand that, but I do think that it's also important to understand that, to know what role you're playing in things, either not moving the way you want them to move or not growing the way you want them to grow. What role are you playing? What role do you have to be accountable for when you look at something that you think should be growing a lot faster, or you think should be moving a lot further? Taking that time to really ask yourself, am I doing the things that I need to be doing? Am I helping the way I need to be helping? Am I feeding this situation the way I need to be feeding it to help it move the way I feel it should be moving? Am I doing that? I think that that's an honest conversation. And another one is, am I giving it the time that it needs, the energy in the room, the space that it needs to grow? Am I putting it in the best environment possible for it to grow? And I think once we start asking ourselves those questions, are we giving it the time, and are we giving it everything it needs, the nourishment, the space, the energy, all of these things that things need to grow? Relationships, business opportunities, your wealth, your health, all of these things need those things. They need time, and then they need you putting in the energy, effort, and everything else into making it grow. And I think that once we start asking ourselves and being honest with ourselves about, am I doing those things? Am I giving this the everything that it needs to breathe the way it needs to breathe, so it can grow the way it needs to grow and build the foundation it needs to build? Those are the questions that we have to start asking ourselves, and we have to be honest with ourselves, because if the answer is no, then we're part of the problem. The problem may not be the situation itself. It may be growing as fast as it possibly can because with what it's been given, and it may not be here, and it may have not been given the stuff that it needs, the time, the energy, the nourishment, all of that that it needs to grow. So, man, to wrap this episode up, start asking yourself the stuff that you need to make those relationships, those friendships, whatever you got going on in your life, especially if it's not moving the way it needs to move. You're not getting that, if you're not getting the looks at work that you feel like you should be getting, if your relationships, your friendships aren't evolving in the way that you feel like they should be evolving and growing in the way that they need to be growing, ask yourself, number one, have you given it the time that it needs? And then number two, are you putting the amount of energy, effort, nourishment into whatever it is that that you realize isn't moving the way it needs to move? Are you putting the time, energy, and effort in that you need to be putting in to make it grow? Are you going to work and being the best version of yourself? Are you showing up in your relationships and your friendships and your partnerships as your best self? Are you honestly putting your best foot forward in these situations? Or are you doing just enough to be like, okay, well, that's serviceable, and then expecting the same results as if you would have been putting your best foot forward? Having those honest conversations with yourself about those things. But I say all of that to say, time, energy, effort, all those things go into making a good thing great. You got to give those good things that you want in your life, you got to give them time to build that foundation, but you also got to put in the nourishment that it needs to build, to help it build that foundation so that it can grow. But that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening on every platform that y'all are listening on, to everybody watching these videos on YouTube. I thank y'all for the comments, for the likes. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. And until the next time we meet, y'all already know, y'all stay blessed.